Can I put another question to the audience about the whole aspect of emotional response? I think Andy really eloquently explained one of her drivers for her science and her art. It is both of them have an emotional impact. And I think most people here who are the scientists or artists will also speak in similar terms, but the terms are often we're not used to expressing as scientists. I'm interested to know from your perspectives about your experience of the natural world, does that lead to or stimulate an emotional reaction in you? Do you feel that emotional response when you see a beautiful landscape, or you worry about the environment? Is it an emotional or is it an objective? Jen?
Definitely. I think, coming from the Blue Mountains and I'm going through this beautiful bushland and you come across this cleared out area, it definitely stimulates fear and anxiety. I'm scared about the future, but then you see the bushland in its natural kind of environment, and it's beautiful, and it makes me want to learn more about it, ways to protect it, and ways that I can, help others to realise how beautiful these places are. And it's not just the forests, it's oceans, it's everything. So I definitely get a very, very emotional when I see some of the destruction that happens out there, and it definitely motivates me to learn more about science. Yeah.
Thank you. Andy, can I ask you to talk a bit more about the creative process in students? And I know you try hard and you succeed in getting students to, in their projects, you give them a lot of freedom to express their creativity, even though they're all embedded in a scientific framework and they're all dealing with scientific topics. You give them the freedom to be as creative as possible to express either their findings or their interpretations of the natural world. Can you tell us something about how you do that and then what you see as the value of that?
So on the excursions that Peter and I run, they're 2 weeks. Actually, Jen was a student on 1 or 2 of those, I think 1. And we spend 2 weeks getting to know the landscape, getting to know how it changes as we move across it, understanding processes and so forth. And we have some activities, they vary. On the last excursion, for example, we had one bushwalk on one particular beautiful piece of rainforest where we do the entire walk in silence. And the students, some of them are like, oh God, this is so daggy, I said, it's all right, well, if everyone's doing it, you can just shut up and just do it. And by the time we've finished, the students some of them find it hard to actually start speaking again, because they've engaged with the landscape not just by hearing us giving words, but also smelling it and hearing it, because this particular walk we do is called the Weeping Rocks Walk, and there's water splashing down and you can hear it. So they're engaging on multiple sensory levels. So by the time we've finished the excursion, and during the excursion we're talking to them about their major project, which is worth a large proportion of their mark. And their major project has to be on anything that has inspired them on the excursion. And the mode of presentation is anything they want, pretty much. We've had posters, books, lectures, radio interviews, video essays, clothing, songs, pretty much any format. We stopped short of interpretive dance because we don't think that we're able to assess that. But we've just finished marking the projects from the last excursion, and I was actually moved to tears a couple of times because they were just so overwhelming. And I think one of the things is that students are connecting, they're taking ownership of their project, but they're also, we want them to learn how to communicate the subject matter in a way that they think is most appropriate for that topic, but also that the topic itself is something that's really touched them and inspired them. And part of the, there's a lot of assessment criteria that we use to evaluate them, and one of them is presentation, which includes creativity, and that we actually are evaluating their creative ability to communicate something which has to be backed by robust science. They have to have accessed lots of primary literature, which is scientific journal articles peer-reviewed by scientists. So they're really trying to get the science about the issue that they've decided to work with, maybe it's coal seam gas or whatever, and then, but also express it and communicate it in a creative way. And I say, you can get an HD if you choose an essay, that's fine, but there's quite a small proportion that choose to write essays. Yeah.
Thanks, Andy. Who would like to be in one of Andy's classes? It's pretty inspiring, isn't it? Does anyone have any questions so far for any of the speakers you've heard from so far? Anyone like to add yes?
I'm coming from a project management background. I'm studying my master's in project management at UTS. And it's really interesting to find the connectivity between the art and science. And somewhere I'm picturizing how the project management can be an art by connecting human more with the nature, because we are talking about the climate change. Ultimately, it's a part of ecosystem when we are doing the project management, and somewhere it has a lot of impact on the human behavior, the country legislations, the way the country operates. So directly or indirectly, any of the project has a lot of impact due to the climate, social changes or the environmental changes on the project performance. So I'm really learning a couple of techniques, what you just mentioned about how it can change the people, the way they think. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any other questions before we...
Oh, hi. I actually do a lot of printmaking of Australian landscapes, and I'm interested in quantum physics as well in art, because one thing I thought to bring up is the idea of human adaptability, because as we have new knowledge, we're able to reorientate ourselves. And to me, the crisis over climate change is that people who are able to adapt, have ideas, are being stopped by those who we call the dinosaurs, and I think that's a crucial nexus to look at as well. And I think I just happened to walk off the street and come into this, and I thought this is very fascinating, because I've noticed that the connection between art and science breaks down that a lot of false dichotomies that occur in human knowledge, and this is needed to allow human beings to adapt. Because I understand the issues with climate change, but I like to stay optimistic and think, because of the politics against it, if we can overcome that, then human knowledge. I think what's really damaging is how human knowledge is actually being suppressed. Yeah.
That sounds like a great topic for a conversation we can continue after this forum. So, but please stay around and keep chatting.